consoles, because it feels like, aside from some games like Marvel vs. Capcom, which is a great series, don't get me wrong, and I guess Disney Infinity, it feels very vacant. It feels like we haven't seen Marvel characters in a long time.
Outside of Lego form.
Oh, yeah.
Just wait till they announce the next Deadpool game.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to see a return of X-Men Legends.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That was a lot of fun.
And what's interesting is that I think it was yesterday, I think it was officially announced that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 will be coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So they're doing some kind of remake or remaster, whatever it is, of those.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that could be kind of fun. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I probably won't buy them, but that's great. I'd just much prefer a new one.
Right. No, I agree, but maybe depending on the sales of these, maybe they're you never know. Yeah. The last game announcement on my list here, for like surprises, is Prey. From
that looked good.
And Arcane Studios. I played the original Prey. I actually really, really liked it. Really enjoyed it. Very, very quick first-person shooter. But it was great because like the main character, he's Native American, so it has a lot to do with like Native American tradition. Even though it's set in this sci-fi background and on an alien ship, there are like spirit walks. It's really, really cool. It's really unique. The new Prey doesn't look anything like that, which is okay. It looks more like Half-Life. I think I mentioned in episode 3 before that, for like a split second, my heart skipped a beat and I thought it was Half-Life.
Poor soul.
But I'm excited for that. But so those are like my 4 game announcements I thought were, I was pleasantly surprised or whatever. But my number one surprise announcement was Project Scorpio, actually. Okay. And the entire vision of Xbox. And I think it's an important announcement because it really shows all this talk the last couple years of how consoles could change and the future of gaming like that, where you buy one box and sometime between the next 5 and 10 years you'll have to upgrade, but everyone's on an even playing field and with the same specs and same features. We got confirmation on Monday that is changing, probably forever. And so I think, good, bad, or indifferent, however you feel about Scorpio being announced, 2.5 years after the Xbox One launched? Hasn't even been 3 years. And they can say, this is not a new generation. And they're right. Generations are dead. At least from Microsoft's standpoint. The generation is gone. But this is still a box that's 4 to 5 times, 4.5 specifically, 4.5 times more powerful than the current Xbox One. That is basically a next-gen leap. When you release a 6 teraflop piece of kit like that, we're in some next-level territory.
Yep.
So I think the announcement, good, bad, or indifferent, is probably the most important one that we saw.
Just to throw this in there about that, the announcement didn't get me quite as excited as the interview that we talked about earlier. So yeah, seriously, if you want to hear a really good explanation, check out the interview with Phil Spencer on Giant. It was on the Giant Bombcast. Yep. You'll have to Google it and figure out which episode it was. But yeah, I thought that was a really great part. And you're right, they probably should have had that as part of the presentation. Just have that little sit down about it. That was really, really good. So.
So, Alex, have you talked about your awesome surprises, announcements?
No, not yet. I mean, we've covered. So I guess my top 2 were Spider-Man and Resident Evil. Those are the ones that really caught my attention. And then I guess the third one for me was Civ 6.
Very
so
nice.
I've only just recently been getting into Civ 5, and Jason, you just told me that it's still, I guess, 3 years after the last expansion came out. It's in the top 5 games on Steam regularly.
I believe that's what it is. Yeah, it's always charting.
So that's pretty wild, and so I hadn't really been following the Civ 6 production at all, and so to kind of have started playing like within a few weeks, and then to jump into E3 and get the brand new game and all the information about it, and to see a lot of the improvements they've put into it, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to that one.
I did not know you were a Civ 6 fan or a Civilization fan. Now you've just gotten some culture points for me.
I was really into Civ 4 for like a year. And man, they're so good. I haven't touched 5. 6 looked great though.
Yeah, such attention to detail. I mean, I guess the focus is on the unstacking of the city and moving things out where all of the buildings that you build actually take up real space on the map and the complications that result from that. But it's the attention to detail and like with just the fog of war in the map. Like when you start playing, it's just like a blank piece of parchment with like sea monsters and dragons and stuff on it. And as you like slowly peel it back, It kind of like reveals the parts of it that you know. And it's
very cool.
That's really cool.
So yeah, those are my top 3 surprises. But I totally agree with you. The importance of that Xbox announcement. We'll be feeling the effects of that for a long time to come.
Yeah, it should be very, very interesting. I am very intrigued by the future of console gaming because it is rapidly changing. And yeah, we'll see. And in a future episode, we'll be able to, I think, go more in depth about, specs and the vision for these platforms and how things can change and, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that.
I was going to throw something in really quick. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Were you continuing your point?
Go for it.
Well, it's just y'all had one category. I had 2, so I feel like I'm obligated to share my other category.
Oh, do it. Yeah.
So I had my announcement and surprise, but we've covered a lot of it already, so I'm just going to make it really quick. The Insomniac Spider-Man, so exciting because it's Insomniac, man. Like that pedigree, all the games they've done. Yeah. That's really, really exciting. But the 2 things that were kind of shocking for me were, one, the God of War. And again, we talked about this a little bit on one of the past episodes. But yeah, I was really surprised that I actually cared about the God of War announcement because I feel like Kratos is an actual person now rather than some just angry dude who likes to just maul stuff.
You are not the only one to say that.
And that was a pleasant surprise that I now actually care about Kratos as a character. So that was a big surprise for me because I didn't think I'd really care that much when the announcement. And the other announcement that, again, we talked about it in one of the past shows, but the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, because they went through that demo and they were saying, yeah, this is going to be in VR and stuff. And it just looks spectacular. And I have been so done with Call of Duty for a while. But man, when they showed that trailer and then it ended with Call of Duty, it was almost a similar feeling to the Resident Evil thing. Where it's like, what is this game? This looks amazing. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And I immediately just wanted to stab myself. Like, how dare you like this trailer? How dare you? It was absolutely fantastic.
I agree. And like one of our other categories for awards is best trailers. And I think, those do tend to follow big announcements. Right. But sometimes, the trailers are so crazy that even if you never saw gameplay, even if maybe you never saw an image, it was just so intriguing, the presentation of the trailer, that it's kind of hard to ignore. Like that's half of E3.
Yep.
So I have on my list, I have 3 that I think were the best. And then I have a couple runners up. So my number 1 best trailer we've already talked about, and that's Resident Evil 7. So I'm not going to go into that. What I will talk about is Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't even know if that's a real game. I don't know what's real anymore when it comes to Kojima. But I will say that trailer is so beautiful and bizarre.
Yeah.
That I would not have felt good about making any kind of list without at least mentioning that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was my best trailer as well. But I thought what's even more interesting is, first of all, I love everything Kojima does, and I love how he announces games because he knows how to build hype for stuff, and he knows how to build interest.
Yeah.
I thought the things that he said after in some of the interviews were really interesting about the game. So you're right. The trailer, first of all, is so enigmatic that I just love it because you're trying to catch these little glimpses of these little hints of things, and you have no idea what's going on, but you're trying to piece things together. Like his stomach is cut open, like he had some kind of bizarre C-section. And he was hooked to the umbilical cord, to this baby. And then there were the five, I think it was five figures, like on the horizon, and just all this stuff is just so strange. But I'm going to read this real quick. And so Kojima got some influence from a book that he read back in high school. And in the book, the writer talked about, I guess the first tools that mankind created. One was the stick. So I'll just read this real quick. The stick is the first tool that mankind created to put distance between himself and bad things, to protect himself. The second tool mankind created is a rope. A rope is a tool used to secure things that are important to you. Most of your tools in action games are sticks. You punch or you shoot or you kick. The communication is always through these sticks. I want people to become connected not through sticks, but through what would be the equivalent of ropes. So he's making an action game, but he also said that it's really difficult to classify it as an action game because it's, and a lot of people say this, but he said it's going to be kind of a new genre the way he's doing it. So just everything this guy does, I'm the biggest Kojima fan. So literally he could have just put a title up there and I probably would have freaked out about it. But yeah, it was so curious and so interesting, and we have no idea what the heck is going on, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great.
So, speaking of the Death Stranding, Alex, didn't you have a question that you wanted to ask Derrick about this?
Oh, is this where I get attacked? That was the note at the beginning of the show?
This depends on your response.
Well, yeah. So I guess we've got another upcoming category, and it's the best indie game. And so a couple places I was looking online had been including Death Stranding in their best indie game category.
It's indie games are like video game genres nowadays. It's really hard to distinguish one category from the other at times. A lot. It's when you look at genres, a lot of people put out a game and they'll say, "Oh, it's a roguelike RPG action adventure point and click." It's like, what are you talking about? It's the same thing with indies. Like, at what point does an indie become a AAA developer? Like, where is there a line? If there is, then where exactly is that line? So I mean, technically, he is an indie group. I think, he's got a very small team working with him. He's not working directly for PlayStation, but he's doing a project exclusively for them. So it'll be a third-party exclusive for PlayStation, but it is a small team. And I mean, Kojima Productions is technically an indie developer.
Okay.
If you have some disagreement, feel free to attack.
No, technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Well, see, I don't know. I think when it comes to whether or not you can label yourself as independent depends on where the money comes from. So, and I don't know where the money is coming from for Death Stranding. If it's coming from Sony, if Sony is financing that game, like, I would absolutely not call it an independent title. But if it's not, and it's just a publishing deal, which is, quite different, then yeah, sure. Then I think you could make the argument. But I mean,
Microsoft did that with a lot of games.